and welcome to my channel, Mary Reads to Live, and today we're going to talk about my favorite 11 books of 2023. Yes, I said 11 because I couldn't narrow it down to 10. So, sorry about that, but I just want to say that it was incredibly hard to narrow down this list since 2023 has been an incredible reading year for me. So, we'll have to just see what we do and how we do with it. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. Book number 11 is Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher, and this book was a surprise for me because I had never read anything by T. Kingfisher before, but she came very highly recommended, and so I gave it a shot and I read it, and it's such an amazing story about a young woman wanting to save her sister from a abusive, horrible marriage to a prince. And so it is a story about a young second princess going to save her sister, and she gets help from three different individuals, and we'll have to see throughout the book. I don't want to spoil it, but throughout the book it is a turning fairy tales on its head, and not that of a prince trying to save the princess. A princess is trying to kill a prince, so it turns that on its head, and it's really, really good. I enjoy it. The writing style is beautiful. The characters are amusing and charming, and some great dynamics between them. And I completely, really enjoyed this book, and it took me by surprise. I wasn't sure because I really usually am not into kind of fairy tale retellings type of fantasy, but that's not what this was. So I'm glad that I read it and that I gave it a shot. So this is one of my favorite books. This is book number 11 in my favorite 11 books of 2023. Alright, and my next one, in number 10, and number 10 is House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. And this book is about a middle-aged gentleman who works for the Department of the Care of Magical Youth. And he is charged with going to this orphanage to make sure that these children are well cared for and to see if there's anything going on that should not be going on. And since there are children at this place, at this orphanage, that are very unique, even for magical children, and there's the Antichrist, there's all kinds of interesting characters, and the dynamics between the children are amazing, the characters are amazing, and there's a great LGBTQ representation, and also a great romance in there sprinkled in, as well as just cozy vibes about learning about the adult family and learning how to accept yourself and learning how to create the life that you want and not just go along with whatever society has told you your life has to be. So it's a beautiful story, great themes, so I really highly recommend it. So House on the Cerulean Sea, number 10. Number 9 is The Wizards of Earthy by Ursla K. Le Guin. And Ursla K. Le Guin is an author that I've been wanting to read for a very long time. She's up there with like Tolkien as far as, you know, an incredible early fantasy writer. And so I wanted to try it out, and I read The Wizards of Earthy, and I thought it was amazing. The story is about a young boy who becomes an apprentice to a mage, and then when he kind of outgrows that apprenticeship, he goes to a school for magic, and then a spell goes wrong, and then he has to go on this magical journey. It is a beautiful story. I love the writing. The writing is very beautiful, and the prose is gorgeous, and the descriptions of the landscapes and the magic is beautiful, but it's also very scary. Like, the magic is actually kind of, the power of the magic is very scary in this novel, and I really love that. I love that it really addresses the power that magic can have in this world is very not something to be taken lightly, and magic itself is not something to be taken lightly, and I highly appreciate that. Now, the characters were awesome. The dynamics were awesome. We're very much in the perspective of this of the boy as he grows up. So I really enjoyed the hero's journey in this story as well, and the craftsmanship of this story from the beginning to end is just gorgeous, and I loved it, and I'm glad I read it, and can't wait to continue on with this series. All right, number 8 is Chapter House Dune by Frank Herbert. Now, Chapter House Dune is in the Dune series. It's like book 5, I think. But this is after the events of Dune, obviously, and this is also after the events of the Children of Dune and Dune Messiah, or Dune Messiah, Children of Dune, and then God Emperor. And this book really goes into humanity's, the way humanity goes after all of that happens in the books, and how the events of Dune kind of has affected the universe thousands of years later. And so it really captures the enormity of what happened in this story and how it had long-lasting effects on the universe. And you get to really see what the God Emperor really was trying to do, and how it really sprung humanity forward in a lot of ways. So this is a great book. I love the characters, and I love the fact that we get to see more of this universe, and we get to see more of the different players in the universe that we didn't get to see before, but we also got to see some new technology and abilities that we didn't get to see before. So I think that's really interesting how it really takes it to a natural progression. So really love this book. So 7. Yes. Book number 7 is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This story is a contemporary fiction that is set in the 80s, and it about two children who meet in a hospital. One character is ill themselves, the other is visiting a sick relative, and they bond over the video games that help them get past these hard times in their lives. And then when they meet again when they're a little bit older, they become really good friends. And then when they're older, they decide to create a video game together. And this video game kind of encompasses a lot of things that they've been through. And so this really talked about creativity and the way that the creative process can strain and strengthen friendships and collaborating and things like that, and how, but it also goes into their different experiences, like one is male, one's female, and like the female in the story, the female character, she has to deal with sexism and things and other struggles and different struggles, and the male character has to go through, who is disabled, has to go through ableism and isolation because of his disability, all those types of things. And then how those things affect their friendship and understanding of each other, and bringing them, and sometimes directing them apart, and then sometimes bringing them together. But it all connects through gaming and their love of games and creating games together. So I love it. It's a beautiful picture of the 80s and a depiction of how stories and art can help people understand each other and get through a lot of hard times in their lives, which is why it's so important. So that's one thing that I love. So, all right. So now on to book number 6. Book number 6 is a horror novel, to my surprise. I did not expect to have a horror novel on this list, but here we are. And I have just recently really gotten into like reading a lot of horror, and part of that is because of me reading a lot of more darker fantasy, and I can handle more horror. So here we go. So book number 6 is We Have Always Lived in a Castle. And I love this cover, by the way. We Have Always Lived in a Castle by Shirley Jackson, who also wrote The Lottery, which is a very famous story I've taught in classrooms. And so I wanted to try out her novella. And This is an interesting story about two sisters and their grandfather who lived together in this castle after their family has all died of poisoning, and it's about how the village that they live, the town in which they live, kind of ostracizes them and others them because of the event that led to the non-family member being poisoned. And so it's about mob mentality. It's about people, what happens when people are different than what in their society, and what society does to people who are different. So it's a really interesting story. It really kind of subverts expectations, and I really enjoyed it. The writing style, of course, is Shirley Jackson. The writing was beautiful. The descriptions were amazing. Characters were really interesting and funny in some parts, so it was great. I love the story. Highly recommend. Book number 5 is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir is a story about a man who wakes up in a space shuttle, with his memories gone, and he has to figure out why he's in space, what's happened to the other people who were supposed to be in the spaceship and what happened, like what is his mission, why is he there, who is he? And slowly throughout the story we get the build up, we get the more pieces of this information, we get to find out who he is, why he's on this mission, and we also get to meet somebody else who's also on a mission in space, and their friendship and connections and how they help each other to help both of their worlds is beautiful. It's an amazing story, amazing book, and I highly, highly recommend it. The writing style is very digestible and interesting and funny. The characters are great and dynamic and interesting. So I really had a great time with this story, and the world building for sci-fi, and the world building is beautiful. Like, I really kind of believe that some of these things were going on, and it was beautiful. I could see everything in my head, and it was beautifully written and charming and funny in a lot of ways, and I really, really enjoyed it. And the characters are spot on gorgeous, so I really hope that they make a TV adaptation of this. I would love to see it visually as well, because that's just how kind of a book it is. Kind of like The Martian in that aspect. Alright, so without going on any further, we're going to go to book number 4. Book number 4 is Bitter Twins by Jen Williams. Now, I've spoken about Bitter Twins on my channel before. Bitter Twins is the second book in the Winnowing Flame trilogy by Jen Williams, and it is a continuation of the story about a cast of characters who have varying abilities, and they are trying to save the world from this other kind of invasive species that had come to destroy their world, and in order to survive themselves, and they have to figure out how to get back their animal companions, their beasts that they ride to battle, and how to communicate with them and how to work with them in order to save the world. And this book really goes into the relationships between the other characters and their animal companions that they ride and to battle. And I think it really goes into their own characters and things that they're overcoming, and it really kind of it's a beautiful way of showing how these characters are all very different, and they all are coming at this from different places, but then they can really connect and help each other through their different struggles and also the world. And it also talks about racism and things like that, because it's like the 3 different races have to come together really to really connect and be able to save the world, because they're divided, they can't do it. So I think that that's amazing storytelling, in my opinion. That's why I loved this story. And plus, Jen Williams is an amazing writer. I loved her prose as well and her writing. And there was a lot of adventure, a lot of action, but there was also some beautiful descriptions. So it was very, very well done. Okay. And so next is book number 3, which is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. Tress of the Emerald Sea is one of Brandon Sanderson's secret project that he released this year. And it is a gorgeous story. It's one of my favorite Brandon Sandersons at this point. Tress of the Emerald Sea is about a young girl named Tress who basically has to go on a journey to save her friend. And the journey is on what's called spores instead of. They have ships that go on spores instead of water, and they have all kinds of different properties. So the magic system's really interesting in this, and also this has been told that this is a kind of a Princess Bride retelling, except instead of Wesley doing the saving, it is Buttercup as the main character. And I think that that's really a great way to describe this. And he wrote this for his wife, who loves the Princess Bride, and it really shined through. He really, really masterfully crafted this, and the writing is beautiful, the story is great, and the magic system is, of course, is Brandon Sanderson, so the magic system is gorgeous and really well thought out. And the illustrations are beautiful, and look at that cover. I love this cover. So that is why I really love this one. So I highly recommend this Tress of the Emerald Sea as well. So that is my book number 3. Now book number 2 is The Prophet of Edan. Now The Prophet of Edan is the second book. The Prophet of Edan is the second book to the Edan trilogy by Philip Chase. And Philip Chase is a new fantasy author. He just debuted his work this year, and he'd already published 2 books, which is amazing. And the first book, but they have been in the process of being written and edited and worked on for like 18 years, and it really shows because they're very polished. And so this is self-published, and it's beautiful. Look at that cover. Beautiful covers. And the story is about a young man, about a cast of characters who have to deal with basically a young man named Dayraven whose home country really decides to declare a holy war, and so they have to deal with those consequences. And Dayraven, who has been basically exiled from his home, has to find his place in all of this chaos and all of that kind of thing. And then there's the young woman Sequara, and how she has a lot of responsibility and a lot of duties placed upon her, and it's basically talking about and it also goes into how she deals with those responsibilities and how those characters come together to try to help save the world from, save their countries, their homes from this destruction of this holy war that this holy war would bring. And so it's very interesting. There's magic. The magic system is interesting. I loved the writing. There's a lot of poetry and songs that are in here also that is gorgeously done. And of course there's dragons. Who doesn't love dragons? I know I do. So that's amazing. So this story really touched my heart. I really loved the themes in here of coming of age, finding your place in the world, and just you can decide your place in the world for yourself, or just take charge of your life and do the best you can. And I really love the characters and the way that they kind of come to life in such an authentic way. They all feel very tangible and real and authentic, and the decisions they make are not always perfect, but they come from a very raw place, and I love that. And they also are some of they're flawed, of course. They're not perfect. No one is. So that's always interesting. And there are some dark themes in here, but it's also very hopeful. And this book brings you through the ringer. It really kind of shows the horrors of war and kind of makes you love the action, but then it also makes you root for the people who are trying to bring peace, because that's what's going to make the horrors that's happening stop, is if they can bring this holy war to an end and stop the death and destruction. So I really love it, and so that's why this is number 2 on my list. Alright, book number 1 is Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. Ship of Magic as number 1 on that list because Ship of Magic, I've never read. Ship of Magic was my first Robin Hobb story, and it really showed me her prose and descriptions and her characters and how she could just suck you in with just her descriptions and her characters and just make you really, really care. And even though the book is long, you don't care. You just keep turning the page because it just keeps sucking you in with her beautiful language and her gorgeous writing, and her world building is bar none. And her world building is just really immersive and brings you right into caring about the characters and what's going on in this world and how it's all interconnected. And I think it's beautiful. And plus the magic is very interesting. I love the idea of sentient ships in this story, and they have personalities and agendas of their own, and I think it's very interesting to see that between the dynamics between the magic ships and the people. And also religion plays an interesting role in this story as well, and the religion, especially on one of the characters, kind of finding his place when he's taken out of the his expected role in religion. And so I think it's interesting to see how I'm really interested to see how it's all going to end up. So I'm going to be reading the rest of this series very soon. But that is why it's number 1. It's beautiful prose. It's Robin Hobb. I mean, can't get better than that. It's beautiful prose, characters, world building brought together to just make them one of the most immersive stories I've read this year. So thank you very much. And I think that's all 11 stories, all 11 books that I've read in 2023. Thank you very much for joining me. Please let me know in the comments below, like, what some of your favorite books of this year are, and if you've read any of these books, I'd love to chat about it. So I'm looking forward to it. And as always, have an adventure with reading.